Um, Basically, what you can take away from this is do not leave your army out of position. And also, it's good to have map control. I had a zealot here. I had the watchtower. I knew he was coming. Which is why if you keep your units, like, just keep it in between your wall and your third base. It's just basically a good place to keep your units. I had them a little bit too close to the wall, and my reaction time was a little bit slow, so therefore I had to cancel the nexus. That was pretty bad, but it wasn't too detrimental. Also, setting up these small walls is actually really helpful because it creates a really good choke. So you keep your units here, his units choke up here, a couple force fields later, and he's on the retreat, and you've just secured your third base. So that's just a good thing to do. So yeah, I'm going to talk about how this build really really sort of varies in terms of your opponent's tech when you can scout it in the next video. But in terms of this video, we're just going to go ahead and watch my decision making from this point on, because the first half of this game I played pretty well. Really basically my only mistake was getting this third base cancelled. That was just not good. Now I want to mention right now that at this stage in the game I did see these mutalisks because they killed my Void Ray. And although I don't ever recommend going for these 4 mortal Warp Prism drops, if you see mutalisks or if you see Spire Tech, I do not recommend doing this whatsoever. But because my Warp Prisms were already out across the field, and because I figured it would be worthwhile to snipe his lair and maybe whatever else I could kill, I decided to drop the Immortals off. And the thing you have to realize is these are not going to live, so just get your Warp Prisms out of there. This is still a pretty costly drop. But basically, if you see Spire Tech, do not do this. This game, I didn't think he was going Mutalisks because I didn't scout it, so again, that's why I say it's so important to use the Phoenix to scout. But with that said, we're going to go ahead and watch this play out. I do go ahead and focus fire his lair, which I will kill. Which, this is actually really good. And the reason for that is because it delays, it just delays the Broodlord Infestor tech by that much more. Now he's got to build another lair. He's got to then build the hive after that. And it slows it down by at least 80 in-game seconds, which is more than a minute. Which is pretty good, because normally you'll be able to snipe that and run without taking any losses, and we will see how that plays out in a later video, probably in the next episode. But when that does happen, it's not too it's not too uncommon for your opponent to go counterattack with all of his layer tech units, and that's what we're going to see right now. Now this is another big mistake. This is basically what cost me the game. I'm just going to go ahead and say it outright. In my mind, because my reaction time was so slow, and because my units were out of position once again, we're going to see how this plays out. So first, he's charging in here with all his units, which is fine. And if we look at the food count, showed that he was ahead by about 30 before this attack started. But quite honestly, my upgrades are far superior than his. My unit composition is far better. And all he can really hope to do is snipe off my nexus, which he did do successfully. And that was only because my units were not in position. And I can't stress that enough, because this will lose you games if you don't do it properly. But I did see the Mutatech by now, obviously, and we do see that my Robo Bay is finished up. Having double Robo isn't really ever a bad thing, because a Robo Bay, a Robo facility costs much less than a Colossus, but by building a second one, it allows you to get 2 Colossus at a time, which basically allows you to tech switch very rapidly. And I've actually started to shy away from getting Colossus too early in this matchup. I've more favored getting Immortals. And the reason is because Sentry, Stalker, Immortal, maybe with some Zealots, depending on how many Zerglings they have, is actually a really good unit composition. The only thing it falls a little shy to is Zergling Muta, which is why then switching to Colossus is a great idea. So with that said, yeah, because Corruptors counter Colossus so easily, and they also give for a smooth transition to Broodlords, where I just don't think, getting Colossus is really cost effective because of that. It's at least not as cost effective in terms of comparing it to Immortals. But yeah, so having 2 Robos isn't necessarily a bad thing. In basically every matchup, I don't feel the need to rush Colossus range, just because I feel like I can, if I need to, I'll micro my Colossus back a step and then let it keep shooting. That's not that big of a deal. Also, you have Force Seals on your side, so that tends to help out quite a bit. But we're going to see this attack pan out. If you don't have a 3rd base by the 20-minute mark, you need to attack. That's just sort of how this matchup is going to work out. So what we see right now is some nice Force Seals going down. His mutas cannot engage this army straight up just because my upgrades are so good. And down goes his 4th base. And he's going to go ahead and attack me from the other angle. I did warp in some more sentries, and you will be able to afford that if you stick to Immortals rather than Colossus with this build. So that's another good advantage you will see yourself basically having. But although these Stalkers are going to be cost effective against the mutas, the overwhelming Zerglings and Roaches are just going to push this army back. And I did rally 2 Colossus to the front lines because I thought I could keep pushing. Unfortunately, these Colossus go down without doing a whole lot of damage. And this was sort of the beginning of the end for me. Now I've pretty much done all of the analysis I wanted to do from this game. We're going to see more of a late game scenario in the next game. We're also going to see how you can actually determine, well, okay, he's going Infestors, I'll do this. He's going Mutas, I'll do this. And we're going to get to see the choices you're going to make and the variants of the build, and just basically how you react and why this build is so good. I know I'm showing a game that I lose right now, but I'm telling you right now, the main reason, if not basically the only reason for this, is because I just had a very late 3rd base and I couldn't secure it whatsoever. And also, I don't know if I could really ever suggest doing the Immortal drop if you don't see any tech. If you don't see whether he's going Infestation Pit or if he's going Spire, I don't know if I'd recommend doing that ever. Just simply because it's just not worth the risk. And you don't really need to take that risk either. So with all that said, I'm going to calm down a little bit. We're going to go ahead and see my units get overwhelmed here. Yeah, that's basically going to bring this replay to a close. Now, a couple things I want to mention. What do I want to mention? So, one good note to consider. Actually, you know what? I know this is going to leave you guys on a bit of a cliffhanger. But I will do another video tomorrow. I will almost promise that. So, don't worry too much. But yeah, I'm going to leave you guys with that note. On that note. And so yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this game. My opponent has some crazy APM. But yeah, that's probably the first of either 2 or 3 games in this particular series. The next series will be, I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but the next series will either be a PvP or... Actually, I think I'm going to just go straight back to PvT because the 2 builds that I've developed since the PvT series went on the channel are really, really good, and I strongly recommend doing them. So yeah, I want to show you the builds so you can actually use them. Because of that, I think I might just actually cover both of them in the next few videos after this series is done. With all that said, this video is probably really long, and I apologize for that, but that's just sort of how these new style of videos is going to be. They're going to be probably close to 45 minutes, I want to say. I don't know how long this has been going on for, but that's just the ballpark guess. But yeah, with all that said, I think I'm going to go play some ladder games, so hopefully I'll get some good replays for you guys. And yeah, that's about it. I just want to give a shout out to Flig Knight, the good old Flig Knight, and Predator for all-inning me in some practice games. Thank you, Pred. That was very nice of you. I'll never forget that. Never forget. But But yeah, also, before I officially sign out, leave any suggestions for a new name for me, because there is a free name change coming up in the next month. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. So if you guys have any suggestions, let them down, throw them at me in the comments, all that good stuff. So with that said, I will see you guys next time. It's Prime Time, signing out. And good luck on ladder. Almost forgot.